Welcome to the Essential Alchemy Podcast with your host, Jodi Cohen.
Hello, I'm your host, Jodi Cohen, and it's such an honor and privilege to be here with Dr. Carolyn Leaf, who is the author of one of my absolute favorite books. We're going to talk about her upcoming book, which is a nice compliment. Dr. Carolyn Leaf is a communication pathologist, audiologist, and clinical neuroscientist specializing in research in psychoneurobiology, or the understanding of the mind-brain-body connection. She, in short, teaches people how to manage their mind. She's published 19 best-selling books and was one of the first to study how the brain can change with directed mind input. Her passion is to help people realize how much power they have to heal their mind, brains, and bodies. And her new book, Everything is Going to Be All Right, Overcoming Your Toxic Thoughts, Behaviors, and Relationships to Be the Person You Are Meant to Be, is about to be published. So welcome, Dr. Leaf.
Thank you so much, Jodi. It's so lovely to be with you. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, you know what I love about, one of my favorite quotes from this book is, mind management is the key to mental peace. Although we can't control the events and circumstances of our lives, we can learn to control our reactions, which can help us deal with and manage the many challenges we face. And I think that is the key to everything.
You got it.
I'm so intrigued. Tell us a little bit about the background and how you started sharing this and the follow-up, which I think just helps people even more.
Absolutely. So this is the new book coming out, Help in a Hurry. And then you've got that. So these two really work well together. And we were chatting a little bit before we started, and you really hit the nail on the head when you said there's a link between them. But to just go back to your question, when I was being trained and I did all this research and did all these degrees, and what I felt was really missing was a focus on understanding the mind, what makes us tick, the you-ness, your choices, your thinking, feeling, choosing, all the things that make us do what we do. And whether it's choosing a lifestyle, making a lifestyle change, whether it's an exercise change, or whatever it is, there's something doing that. And that's not the body, it's not the brain, it is the mind. And so that was very fascinating for me. And from early on in my early days, back in the 80s, I mean, I've been in this field 40 years now. Back in the 80s, they spoke a lot about the mind-brain connection, and they were seen as separate. That's very different to what we hear today. Today, people talk about the mind and the brain as though they're the same thing. And you may often hear and read that people will say, oh, my mind, oh, my brain, or the brain produces thoughts, or the brain actually does nothing. It's a very complex lump of flesh, but it actually doesn't have life. It's not a life force. It's not creating anything. It's like a really fancy computer, and it holds something, which is the mind. So the mind is the thing that actually drives the brain's physiology and the body's physiology. So it's making the brain do all the brain things, and it's making the heart do the heart things, and the lungs do the lung things, for want of a simple explanation. Because once we die, that life force moves out and everything disintegrates. So that life force is actually essentially your mind, which is a very ancient word. Mind is an ancient word used for thousands of years by philosophers and scientists and so on, and they always used it to represent the sort of soul spiritual realm, this uniqueness of humanity, this you-ness, this you are Jodi and I'm Caroline and everyone who's listening, that thing that we do that enables us to listen and do life, that's mind. And so mind enables us to do life, this sort of psychological stuff, but it also runs off physiology. So the mind needs something physical. It is physical. It's actually, we can use quantum physics and electromagnetics and that kind of thing to actually sort of understand a bit of the physicality of the mind, a level. But the brain is obviously very solid and the body is solid. But when the mind hits the brain, there's magic that happens. And the magic is that then the brain and body are animated, and we talk and we experience life and we feel things, and our bodies and brains are so responsive to sensation that they can often dominate us. And you said something right at the beginning of this interview, which was profound. I don't even realize if you realize how profound it was. You said you think the mind is everything. It's the most important thing. Absolutely. That's what thousands of philosophers have said for thousands of years, and scientists have been saying for hundreds of years, is that we have to focus on the mind, because the mind is doing the stuff. And obviously, if the mind is doing this stuff, the first question I think people think is, well, my mind's totally crazy as I've got all these intrusive thoughts. I've got regret cycles. I'm doing all these crazy things. So we need to understand the levels of the mind, and we need to understand the timing of the mind. And we need to understand how the mind gets stuff from mind into brain and body. And we need to understand things like what is memory, and what is a thought, and what are these networks and things that the scientists are talking about. So that's what I try and cover in cleaning up the mental mess. I explain that, and there's research and stuff in there. You can always skip the research parts or just read the little summaries.
Amazing. And the thing that I think is the most important, everyone's trying to heal physically, but
Yes,
if there's like a mental mess and your body thinks it's in stress, no matter what you're doing, if your thoughts are not aligned with health, or if there's like background emotions that haven't been processed, your body's having a stress response and you're never going to heal.
absolutely. Absolutely. You've got it. And you're totally right. I mean, you understand the whole biohacking movement, which is it needs to be a little bit more balanced. And I think this is what you're saying, because yes, we do need to look after our brain and our body, because that's what the mind uses. So if you don't look after your brain and your body, your mind will batter it, because your mind is an energy force, and a mind that's uncontrolled creates a chaotic energy. You put that in the brain, that translates into, or literally becomes, proteins that fold incorrectly and connect and create a mess with your biochemistry. And that same thing happens in your body. It's not just the brain, because memory is not in just the brain, it's in the body as well. So when we talk about recalling something, we're not just we hear so much, oh, memory, brain, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, brain. It's not just there, it's the entire body. The entire body, your memories are in your fingertips, they're in your toes. I mean, your memories are everywhere. But the way that we put our memories into the brain and the body, because we do that, as we think, feel, and choose, that influences the health of the brain and the body. So therefore, we do need to address the health of the brain and the body. But you're so absolutely correct when you say there's so much focus in today's society on the body. There's every device out there that you can measure just about everything. And there's, wonderful things on exercise, and there's so many different types of ways of eating, and such an encouragement to eat clean. And these are all great things. But if your 100% of your time is spent on that, or 90% or 99%, and you only sort of attend to a little bit of mind by maybe doing a bit of meditation, that doesn't address the mind. It actually addresses the physiology of the body. Meditation's not really addressing much of the mind, just one part of the mind, but it's mainly calming our physiology down. What about the rest? And our mind, and this is a massive statistic, our mind is up to 99% of who we are, and our brain and body are 1%. So if we're spending all our energy on the 1% and hardly anything on the 99%, there's going to be a problem. And that is evidenced in the mental health statistics that people quote all the time. So that's kind of what I'm trying to break, that myth, and try and guide people to look at it differently.
Well, no, and I absolutely love, like, I can speak for myself, all of my friends, my entire community. We're anxious, we're
Yeah.
overwhelmed. We probably have a background that includes some shame, a lot of repressed emotions, often anger, maybe some trauma, maybe some sexual assault. We're doing the best we can, and we've got blind spots, and we don't know how to unpack those blind spots. And you are giving us a roadmap, and I'm so excited about that.
Oh, thank you. You said that beautifully. And I really am so pleased that's happening for you in your life and the life of your community.
So let's talk a little bit, because I've heard you say, I know you've got kind of your 5 steps from this book, and there's an order. Like, for somebody who's listening who says, oh my God, this is me, please help me. Obviously, I'm going to buy your book, but walk me through, how do I kind of move through? I have anxiety, I have overwhelm, I have these things that are, not the state, not the person I want to be, not how I want to show up in the world. And I kind of want the roadmap. Help us understand, how has your research kind of led you to this, and what do you recommend for people, when they're
Perfect.
having that anxiety attack or that overwhelming moment?
Perfect. Okay, so if I may answer this in 2 ways, I'm going to actually reference this book first, because this is kind of like the missing link. So the book that you held up, Cleaning Up a Mental Mess, on the shelf behind me, that one has got, as you said, the 5 steps, which is a formula. So what I did 40 years ago is I was in my research, and in the degrees that I was doing, I always been trained to teach my patients to compensate. Now, that is not a great thing to do because compensate means I never really deal with the issue. And so I challenge that. Some of the things you learned, the therapy techniques and systems were really good, but the angle was wrong. So I started doing research in people with people with traumatic brain injuries and neurological issues and traumas and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and autism and then just generally life, people, just with no major thing, but all of us are battling with something. And what very soon became evident is that we need to shift how we need to empower people to realize that what the mind is and that your mind can be managed. You, with your mind, manage your mind. Now, if I'm mind and I'm managing mind, that means that there must be different levels of mind. So the first thing I had to work out was, okay, well, what is mind and what are the levels of the mind? The second thing I had to work out was, okay, so once I understand what the mind is, sort of, I mean, it's an ongoing pursuit, I think, our entire life, is then to understand how life becomes clustered into thoughts that then wire into the mind-brain-body network and drive how we function. So, and resulting in the anxiety, the overwhelm, the burnout. I mean, those are the words, those are the sort of signals that something's going on. They're attached to an experience that's making us feel that way. And so then how did that happen? How did that grow? And then if I know how that grows, how can I reverse that? Because if I know the steps doing it, I can catch it and then reverse engineer. So that's been that's a simple overview of my research. So when you do research, you then develop theories and then you spend the rest of your life trying to understand your theories. But I still continue to do research. So everything that I teach and in my work is based on clinical research and applied research in clinical practice and random controlled trials, et cetera, and life experience. But it's research, it's science, and science is always changing. So obviously, I keep doing research. I make sure that I'm constantly updating the systems. Okay, so out of all of that, what I discovered was if we can take all this really complex stuff, how can I make it really simple for someone who's sitting opposite me in my therapy room and they've gone through a major trauma and they're also battling with potentially, some symptoms of autism and maybe even, learning disability and a cognitive thing. I can't go giving them all the science that I love. It's not going to make sense. I'm going to have to tone the science down because everyone loves a bit of science, but I'm going to have to simplify. But most importantly, what is the flow? What is the process? What's the formula? And so that's how the Neurocycle, Neuro, cycle was birthed. It wasn't originally called the Neurocycle, but it's called the Neurocycle now. That's what you'll see in that book. I have an app as well, which is available on iTunes, Google Play, and there's a web version. And there I literally the app is literally me giving you therapy, works beautifully hand in hand with the book. So essentially, what I discovered was that there's a 5-step process that you go through when you take, let me simplify this. You're listening to me now. Everyone's hearing, and some people are also seeing if they're watching on YouTube or whatever. And this is information that's coming in. It comes into your mind, and then it goes from your mind, sense is made of it, and then a copy of it's put into your brain, and it grows into tree-like structures that look like this. I'm holding up a little plant for those of you that are listening. And then it also goes into every cell of your body as a sort of hedge-like structure. The hedges around pretty parks when they really trim the edges, or you look at pictures of the castle of Versailles, Palace of Versailles, you'll see the beautiful hedges. It's kind of little hedges in our cells. We have 37 to 100 trillion cells in our brain and our body. And what's really interesting is that this conversation is going into my mind first, which is an energy field around me, kind of a circle around as big as I can kind of move. If you move your arms like this, that's more or less all the way around. That's more or less your mind energy field that we call the biofield, and it goes around and through you. And everyone has that, and then they connect because we're all connected. But yours is unique to you. And then that moves through your body, and it's that field that makes your heart beat and all the things I was saying earlier. So first, this conversation goes into this field and it clusters. It's all the words I'm saying are lots of words, lots of details, and they group together into like a little packet of energy that looks like a cloud. So just think of the clouds in the sky made of raindrops. Lots of raindrops make a cloud. Lots of details make an experience, and an experience is a thought. So thought is an experience made of memories. Okay, so it builds in this field. Then we make a copy of that with our mind, and we put that into the brain, and we grow a little tree. And then it gets put into every cell of our body. Now, this is happening fast. You're not even aware of this. It's happening at probably we estimate faster than 400 billion actions per second. So it's really fast. but we do have the ability in our mind, 99% level, to direct that process. So this whole thing of going from clouds to trees to hedges in your cell, in your body, and then that manifesting in anxiety, what you say, what you do, how you look at life, etc., that process I have tracked, and it's called the neurocycle. So the neurocycle is how that happens. So therefore you use the neurocycle formula to deconstruct the process. So you reverse engineer. So you look at how you're showing up: anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, etc., aches and pains in your body, life sucks, that kind of things, four clusters, and you reverse engineer it back to find what was it attached to. Is it a healthy one? I'm holding up a nice green tree. Or was it a toxic issue? The abuse, the trauma, the work issue, the family issue, whatever, politics, whatever, okay? And you track it back to that thought. And then what we do is we deconstruct that thought. We take the power and energy out of that thought. We shrink it. You can never get rid of what's happened to you. Your stories are your stories. They're part of you. But what we can do is change what they look like. Because if they stay in a very toxic state in your mind, brain, body network. So let's imagine a stormy cloud in your mind. Let's imagine this really ugly thorn tree like thing in your brain and these ugly hedges in your body. That's very hard on the brain and the body. It will increase vulnerability to disease. And so we can change that, but it has to change from the mind level first. And I'm probably going to have to deal with it from a medical side, because if I've battered my brain and body enough, if I haven't dealt with things enough and they've been there long enough, they would have weakened the cells and therefore the systems, the organs and systems of the body. So, you're probably going to have to deal with deal with the GI issues, and maybe deal with the cardiovascular issues and the immune system issues and the changes in our brain that as we work on our mind, we can rewire and so on. So that's going to happen. But my main work that I have to do is get my mind right. I have to manage my mind, which is what you said in the beginning. It's mind management. So therefore, if mind is managing mind, who's the boss? Which part of the mind is the boss? Mind. That means there's more than one mind. So we have
Oh, right. The conscious, the subconscious. Interesting.
that's it, and the
You're
non-conscious. So there's 3 levels of mind. Yeah, 3 levels of mind.
You're
And
transmuting the energy. You're
yes,
taking it and converting it from the dying tree to the flourishing tree. That's
that's
brilliant.
exactly what you're doing. So with the neurocycle, the system is based on how it grows into the mind, brain, and body. The neurocycle is how you find the thought, and then rewire it. So so you basically deconstruct and reconstruct it. So it's a formula of 5 steps, and we can go through those 5 steps in a moment. So essentially, that's exactly what you're doing. So, but you are using that's mind. When I say you do this, you use the neurocycle. You actually are your mind. So therefore, your mind has got a messy part, which is generally the conscious mind. The conscious mind's pretty messy, but it can be messy and it can also be tidy at the same time. The way we can access tidy is by accessing the other 2 levels. So the other 2 levels are the subconscious. The subconscious is like a waiting room. It holds the things just below our conscious awareness of the things that are disruptive to us and that are also good for us, things that we need now, today, in this moment. So not everything. It holds the sort of top 4 to 10 things that you need to get through your day and your week, or the things that are kind of current in your life. And then if we deal with them, then the next lot come. If we don't deal with them, they go into the next part, which is the non-conscious, NON, non-conscious. And the non-conscious is the biggest part of us. It's where our intelligence resides. It's where every single memory clustered into thoughts that we've ever experienced and will experience is stored. It's where our wisdom is, intuition, insight, everything you need is there. We just got to find it.
Is that where trauma or like suppressed trauma would live?
It'll live. So all the good stuff, plus all the things that are undealt with, live there. And the things that are, yeah, so everything. So any suppressed trauma lives there. But now whatever lives there will have a biological representation in the brain and the body. So whatever we haven't dealt with will also be in the brain and the body. So
Wow.
it all goes in the mind levels first, then it goes in brain and body. And it will stay in that disruptive state in your brain and your body until you've dealt with it. So now, how do we deal with all these things? I'm overwhelmed. There's tons of stuff. Where do I begin? as you asked me. Well, your non-conscious knows, your intuition, your non-conscious wisdom, intuitive, non-conscious, wise, brilliant part of you that operates 24/7. It never stops and is on your side, your best friend. It knows exactly what you need to work on now. And so it takes those and puts those 4 to 10 thought packets, thought clouds, whatever, into the subconscious. And then the subconscious gets your conscious attention, because your conscious mind is pretty slow. It can only handle one thing, one cluster of information at a time, one thought at a time. It can move through a lot of thoughts, in a few seconds, but it can only focus, like we can only focus on one conversation at a time. You and I are talking now. If someone else was talking in our ear, we'd really battle to continue having this conversation, because our conscious, our unconscious can have endless, infinite conversations at once. But the conscious can only handle one thing at a time. So the subconscious knows that. The non-conscious knows that level. Non-conscious level of mind, subconscious level of mind. Non-conscious, the biggest part, fastest part, finds the thing, finds the thought, puts it in the subconscious. Subconscious is much, much slower. So we need the subconscious, because the non-conscious is way too fast for the conscious. The conscious mind would just explode if there wasn't an interim level. So the speed is filtered down and slowed down in the subconscious mind and organized into these 4 to 7 little packets of information. And those are then put into the conscious mind via signals. What are those signals? Burnout, overwhelm, withdrawing, my body's aching, life sucks. So 4 clusters of signals. So the non-conscious puts it in the subconscious gets your attention. How? Through your emotions. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Through your body, my body just feels completely and utterly achy and like literally like it's just not work, whatever. I'm making something up. And behaviors, maybe withdrawing, and perspective signal, life sucks. So as you pay attention to those signals, those are just signals. Those aren't diseases. Those aren't its. Those are signals telling you there's a thought that these attach to. There's a because of.
This is a positive reframe. What you're basically saying is things that we look at as negative are actually positive indicators.
Yes.
From the non-conscious
Beautiful.
to the conscious, that we're finally ready to process them.
Exactly.
All our delayed maintenance. I love that. Okay.
That's exactly the thing. And it's quite simple. There's 4 categories of signals, and all the things that are often referred to as like depression is an illness. It's not an illness. It's a warning. It's an emotional warning signal. Anxiety is not an illness. It's an emotional warning signal. It's also normal to feel depression and anxiety because life is hard. And depression and anxiety are not bad. They're telling you information. So when you see them as bad, they'll make you feel bad. But if you see them as information, you'll still feel lousy, but you'll feel different, because you'll realize that, oh, if I look at the lousy, if I face the things I don't want to face, I get power over them. I find the data and the information, and I use that to heal.
What I love is that I think a lot of people, when they don't know what to do, they do nothing. So they don't know what to do, so they medicate, they numb, they disassociate, and you're teaching them
exactly.
work. This is so, it could not be more important always, but especially at this time on this planet. So thank you.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, absolutely. And you've got it. Thank you you summarized so beautifully there. And that's exactly what you be able to do. If you medicate, let's say you're in a really bad state and you medicate, it's not the solution. Those medications aren't even medications. They're considered drugs. If you look at their classification, psychotropics are drugs. Psychotropics are antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, those kinds of things. They're classified as a drug, not a medication. What's the difference? A medication targets a problem, like insulin for diabetes. What does a drug do? It doesn't fix anything. It just makes the brain different. It's psychoactive. It numbs. So therefore, you're numbing. So if you keep numbing, you never deal. So then the thing just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and explodes, because everything is energy, and energy radiates. What does that mean? It means it gets bigger. So whatever I don't deal with and channel, it's going to go in the wrong big direction. If I want to increase my peace, I need to fix the suppressed trauma, because then I can radiate energy that creates peace. If I don't fix the correct trauma, the suppressed trauma, I radiate toxicity, and that damages and batters my brain and my body, feeds back into my conscious mind, blocks my conscious mind from actually getting into a tidy mind and listening to the wise mind, and then I get stuck in a loop, and then you get things like addictive behaviors starting. And OCD and those sorts of things, which are not diseases, they are responses, they are signals, that behavioral signals trying to cope. We go into stress, different types of stress languages, where we start freezing and whatever, falling, all the different types of stress languages that
People
we then
pleasing,
use to cope.
perfectionism. Yeah, no,
People pleasing, regret cycles, all these sorts of things.
I know so many things that I thought were my personality were my coping strategy.
Exactly, exactly. We wired for love. We made it great stuff. Okay, so our personalities are great. So there's no bad emotion. So whenever we have a signal, an emotion that is disruptive,
Mhm.
it's information. If you allow it to disrupt, you increase disruption. But if you grab it with your mind, your wise mind, tap into the unconscious, tap and take the time, which is what the neurocycle helps you do, you then turn that round and learn and grow. And it doesn't mean you're going to be a happy avatar. No. Part of being a decent human is actually being able to sit and not be okay, to be okay with not being okay, to sit with the sadness, to sit with the unhappiness, to sit with the lack of joy, to embrace it and then to move through it, not get rid of it. And that's where help in a hurry really comes in. So with all this work, people like, okay, so let's quickly just finish what the 60 the neurocycle, because people say, okay, what are the 5 steps and how do I do them? I'm going to say the 5 steps. I'm going to tell you how to rewire, and then I'm going to give you a nice start point. Okay, so the 5 steps are: gather awareness. So you gather awareness of your 4 signals: emotions, behaviors, emotional warning signals, behavioral warning signals, bodily sensation warning signals, and perspective warning signals. Okay, those all in the book, laid out in the app, etc. Then the second step is you reflect on those. So you gather those, which means you bring the network up into conscious mind, you weaken the network, you change your neurophysiology, you get back in the driver's seat. That's what that step does. It does the most amazing neurophysiological and mind stuff. It gets mind, actually opens the doorway between the conscious mind and the non-conscious mind. So if we don't gather, the doorway stays like a swinging door, which kind of keeps closing. By doing the gather awareness, you keep the door open so I can access intuition. Okay, then step 2 is I reflect, which is asking the WH question. So all of this is done with kindness and compassion to yourself, because it's not you, it's how you're showing up because of. So what we're doing with the neurocycle is, why am I showing up with anxiety? I'm not anxiety. I'm showing up with anxiety because of. Anxiety is one. What are the other 3 signals? Let me gather aware of the other 3 signals. And then, why am I feeling this? It's attached to a thought. Let me find, the who, what, when, where, why, to find the thought. And then the thought starts coming up. To dig deeper and find more about the thought, I mindstorm, which is the 3rd step, and write that down. So I just see what else is coming up. What else is my unconscious pushing into my subconscious for me to, in other words, what other memories do I need to help me deconstruct? What data that we've already stored is coming up? And then we write that down. Now it's all messy. The 3rd step's kind of messy, which is great. The messier, the better the work you're doing. Step 4 is called the recheck. Now you can reorganize, you can reconceptualize, you can reframe, you can mind shift. This has happened. What can I do? This is what's going on. Oh, okay. This is what's going. And you break it down into chunks. You choose something small for today. The 5th step is then an action that you do through the day to help ground you and keep you in a place that you don't keep ruminating and going back. And you then take control. You then close off the chapter with the 5th step. It could be a quote, a phrase, a visualization, and then you leave it to the next day. So the neurocycle is a process that you do daily over 63 days to rewire one of these networks. These networks are made of energy and protein and chemicals, they filled with vibrating information. They do not go away in 1, 14, or 21 days. They break down and rebuild in 21 days, but they are not big and strong. They're tiny at the end of, and very low, don't have much energy, so they won't change you. You'll still feel, you'll know you've done the work, but you wouldn't have changed. So you do need to do another at least 42 days where you keep doing the neurocycle daily, and then that makes it nice and strong. And when it's got enough energy, then you automatically will operate from that thought with its mindset versus the old one. So that's the basic process, which I explain in detail in Cleaning Up the Mental Mess. And in the Neurocycle app, I'll walk you through it. Now, over the years, what people have been asking me is, and I saw this with my patients when I was practicing, and with myself and my kids and my family and my friends, is that this is great. I can do that. There's a plan. Fantastic. We love a plan. We've got a goal. We've got a purpose. We've got a roadmap, like you said earlier on. And by the way, you start your 5 steps with a bit of mind, brain, body preparation, which are things like breathing and meditation, which get your physiology calmed down. Okay. And there's lots of examples that I give. But what about in the moment now, in these 63 seconds, not 63 days, right now, someone just said something to me that completely threw me off and I've got to go into a meeting. Or I'm sitting with my spouse and we're having dinner and we have an argument over some stupid thing. What do I do then? Or you're in a meeting and a colleague in your business meeting makes a comment that throws you off, that is just so out left field and so unfair that you find yourself wanting to react in anger. Or what if something happened, you didn't say something to someone and then they did something stupid and you feel so much regret because you think, if I did that or if I said that, then this would have happened.
Shame.
Regret,
Yeah.
regret cycle, which leads to shame. So what we did was we surveyed and from that plus clinical research and found the top areas that people really battle with. And it's things like and regret cycles, feeling under pressure, burnout, overwhelm, stress, that kind of thing, wanting anger,
Yeah.
people pleasing, regret cycles, um, getting so overstimulated that you just by people that you just want to punch them in the face. Social media, classic one. I mean, so there's a lot of different. There's
Yeah.
18 areas. So in this book, I've got 18 chapters. Or there's more chapters, but there's sort of 18 areas where I take you through a simple explanation of what each of those are and give you the techniques to manage them. So where do they fit in this whole 63-day cycle and neurocycle? Basically, they're the first 63 seconds. So in the moment that someone says something to you, it hits your energy field, it comes in, and it generally will activate your chaotic, messy, conscious mind. Now, when you don't take a gap, like the red and the orange on a road, on a traffic light, if you don't take a gap, you're going to react, you're going to shoot from the hip, whatever analogy you want to say, and then
Yeah.
you're going to go into one of your stress languages, you're going to go into one of your reactions, and you're going to actually wire that reaction, because whatever you think about becomes part of your mind, brain, body network. It's going to go in and it's going to, like a magnet, be attracted to existing toxic pathways, and it's going to just build on them and make it worse. So this may not, it'll find something similar. It finds like to like, okay? And it will go attached to that and make whatever that toxic pathway is, that network between the mind, brain, and body, it'll make it even more toxic. So so now with help in a hurry techniques, like how many times do we say, I need help in a hurry?
Yeah.
Instead of reacting in that moment and creating this more of a mess, I
Yeah.
can take a gap. I can create a 60-second moment. We've seen from science that 10-second blocks, 6 of them, which makes around 60 seconds. And then I'm playing a little bit with numbers, 63 seconds, 63 days, because it takes 63 days, we've shown from research, minimum to form a habit, not 21. Okay, so if you can catch the first 60 seconds, 63, even if it's a little under, but in that region, you create a gap, the orange and the red on the traffic light. Then the chaos comes in, but then the tidy mind says, okay, this is okay. This is what they said is upsetting. What's happened is frustrating. Yes, you are worked up. You have a valid point, so do they. This isn't the end of the world, an argument or whatever. You say that kind of thing. You can have a little bit of self-talk that it's okay to not be, okay, you acknowledge. You don't deny. You honor it, okay? But it's quick. You catch it. You can do that. Takes me longer to explain than it does to do. So
That's why you smell. It's just a good pattern interrupt,
Exactly. It's a pattern interrupt. So you basically, you're interrupting, but you're doing so much physiologically that when we talk about pattern interrupting, we're talking about energy and we're talking about networks and we're talking about physiology and we're talking about brain stuff. It's a lot that is going on. But who's controlling it? Your 99% mind. So when we do that, the conscious mind listens to the tidy mind. Guess where the tidy mind, which is, conscious mind is messy and tidy at the same time. Guess where the tidy mind gets its information? From the non-conscious. So the minute we take the gap, we open the doorway, we've got this fishing rod going out into the non-conscious, and we're finding the right way of thinking, and we're pulling it up, and we're now attaching it to that information, and we wire better information, a better version of that incident into the mind and body network. So instead of it going in toxically and getting magnetized and attracted to a toxic thing, it forms a new network that contains what's happened, but not negatively. Okay, then and that's what the 63 seconds is doing. Now, there's lots of different ways you can do it. So the first thing always is to acknowledge it. It's just, that upset me. Acknowledge. Give yourself permission to acknowledge and how you feel. Then you can do all kinds of little things. Like you could do If you're very angry, you could do sip breathing, which oxygen, yes, we need oxygen, but oxygen carries in the mindset. So as I acknowledge and say it's okay and find, get the wisdom from the unconscious, that's energy. And if I breathe in a certain way, I attach that good energy of that good way of thinking onto the oxygen and I breathe it in as well. So I'm putting good oxygen in. If I don't, I'm putting toxic oxygen in. I mean, that's how important this is.
Oh, it's so
I
wonderful.
mean,
And I looked through that, like you have a DeBono's 6 hats. You have all these tricks. Like
yeah,
I
that
love
people are familiar with. Yeah.
it's
That
a
people
little bit like a Chinese menu. You give a lot of options so that people can pick what fits for them.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you said that because then after the acknowledgement, you can choose one of those. You could choose one of Bono's 6 hats. You could choose imagining they're an ant. You could choose they're in a box. You could choose to make an I statement. There are a multitude of options. So under each chapter, like the regret cycle, I give you options and ways that you could build into that 63 seconds. Then I give you ways to practice. So this book is like the missing link. The what do I do now? Because if you can control the 63 seconds, you can control the next 63 seconds, which means you can control the next hour, which means you can control the next 63 days, which means you can learn to manage your mind. And that's essentially what I'm teaching, that long answer.
And basically what you're saying is how we respond to that stimulus in that moment either sets us back and rewires the toxic pattern or moves us forward and
Makes it
creates a
worse.
new pattern.
Exactly. So it actually makes it worse than before. And they're not, then we have to do extra work because the unconscious will find the disruptive and it goes back into the subconscious and the whole thing starts again. We ignore it again. It goes back even stronger than before. And that's key. Whatever you think about the most grows, whatever you suppress gets stronger. So it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger and more, which means it's more and more disruptive and it's going to affect more and more areas. So the overwhelm grows, the burnout grows, the anxiety grows. But when we take this very logical approach, that's very intuitive, it's using all of your mind capacity, you then can get control back. And it's not a walk in the park. It is difficult. It's never going to stop. But the difference is, I used to get completely and utterly stuck when I was in my early 20s before I did all this research in regret. It was really a problem for me. I lost so much joy by getting stuck in the if only, could have, would have, should have. It destroyed my moments because it was every moment was I should have said it like that. I should have written it like that. I should have done it like that. I should have explained it like that. I should have done. It's terrible. It's a chain. Now, I still will have times where something happens and I find myself going there, but because I know how to manage my mind, I don't stay there for more than a few seconds. I can get out of it very fast and I can move forward, which gives me the resilience to deal with the hard knocks of life, which are inevitable.
No, I completely agree. And it also rewires your parasympathetic nervous system so that it boosts your resilience, it boosts your happiness, it changes everything. This,
Absolutely, because your parasympathetic nervous system is part of your body. Your mind controls your body. So as you do this, it's automatic that everything that's supposed to work properly will work properly, including your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just wanted to
no,
make
it's
sure
just
people understand that.
well, and it rewires that maladaptive amygdala. This is everything. Can you hold up your book and let people know how they can find you and work more with you?
Absolutely. So Help in a Hurry is available. It's on pre-order at the moment, and we have some amazing bonuses. We have a free seminar. We've got 7 incredible guest speakers. I literally teach you how to use this book and take you through. And then I've got some of my colleagues that are brilliant in their fields, helping even more. There's a free workbook. There's a bunch of pre-order bonuses. That's available wherever books are sold. My social media handle is Dr. Caroline Leaf, and I'm on all the platforms. So you just have to Google from Instagram or wherever your favorite places, and you'll find me all over the place. Our website's drleaf.com, and my podcast is The Dr. Leaf Show.
And your app?
And my app is called the Neurocycle. So it's the same as it's that system, Neuro Cycle, and it's available on iTunes, Google Play, Google Store, and there's a web version as well.
Thank you for your time and for everything you're doing. Like this is going to help so many people. I'm so profoundly grateful for you and your work.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for your lovely essential oils. I love them. Just this morning, I was putting some of the essential oils on those little, the things for the tumble dry, the little balls that you put
Yeah.
on. And I always put your essential oils on those. And then my clothes always smell so good. So
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, I really use it. I find that this is what helps me in that moment. Like this is my habit because
help in a hurry. There's your help in a hurry moment. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my help in a hurry because, smell doesn't need
Go
thought.
straight to there you go. So that's a really great brain, mind, brain, body prep. So in that initial moment, that's a really great thing. Smell along with the breathing is beautiful, beautiful pairing.
Yeah, with my clients, that was the only thing because they knew what to do, but when they were so triggered, they were so stuck in it, like it just helped them that initial like pause moment.
And it does. And those are actual molecules that go into your brain. And then that creates a feedback loop, which then goes into your mind. So it's really great.
No, thank you. This was wonderful.
My pleasure. Thank you.